It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. If you're someone who lives in an area where it's so expensive to buy real estate and you feel like it's impossible, then I have something for you. I just released a free guide that's going to give you the 8 steps you need to take to buy your first out-of-state property. I bought several properties out of state, living in California, investing in Ohio, and you could do the same. It's just a matter of having the right information. So click the link in the description of this episode to get your free guide today. How did you get to the point where you knew you wanted to rent out part of the home? Is that something, where did you learn that?
So it was just a conversation that we had,
Yeah.
and in our area where we are, like it's a urban type of area, it wasn't unheard of, like a lot
Yeah.
of families were buying duplexes so they can live on one side, and it just made sense to us.
Definitely love it. And something else you mentioned too was sacrifice, saving money, which people tend to overlook, quite honestly. And is such an integral part of this journey if you're not starting with a pile of money. So can you talk about the steps that you and your husband took to prepare financially to buy
Yeah.
that home?
Yeah. So actually at the time, and my mom had given me this hint at the time, because I was just starting into my career. And so I was used to not making a lot of money, even though I was making a little bit more when I started teaching, but it was more money than I was making before. So we were kind of used to living on like this lower budget. So actually it was suggested by my mom, like, make sure you guys find a place where pretty much one can sustain the home. And then that started making us think, well, yeah, not only that, but if we can find a place where the majority could be taken care of by renters, right? And so, yes, it was a little bit of a sacrifice, but at the same time, because I had just started working, it wasn't so hard for me to put that money aside. And I've always been pretty frugal since I was actually a kid. So it wasn't hard for me to save. But I knew, like, long term it's going to be worth it, right? Like I knew what we were saving for. So it was easier, one, because I had practiced it before, and two, I knew that by doing this, I didn't really realize the power of appreciation, but I did realize that by just saving a little bit, we were going to save longer in the long term, because having this house is going to be cheaper than renting an apartment at the time.
Definitely. And was that property in New Jersey?
Yeah. So that first property 10 years ago was in New Jersey. And then we stayed in there for about 5 years. And then we bought another property because our family was growing, and we bought another property not too far away. And then we ended up renting out that house completely. So by renting out the house completely, it was not only paying for itself, but then it was paying for like half of our new mortgage.
Wow. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. So I just want to go back to a couple of things. So for those who may not know, can you explain what the FHA program is?
Yeah. So a lot of people have this myth that, you can't buy a property unless you have 20% down. And that's just not true. There's actually quite a few programs where maybe you can only put 0% down, right? At the time, there were certain incentives. So it's something that you want to ask lenders, that you want to network with people to be able to figure out, like, where can I find like the 0% down? Because sometimes it might be in certain counties or certain communities that allow it. So actually at the time we had heard about it from a lender, but we weren't looking in that specific county. We were looking at another county. So we're like, well, what are our options? You want to make sure that you're speaking up and you're asking questions. And then we heard that, the lowest amount down at that time was the FHA, 3.5% down. So we decided to go that route. And yes, you pay a little bit of, you pay a PMI. So you're paying because you didn't put down that 20%. But when I was running the numbers, I'm like, well, it's okay for me. Even though, I will back up a little bit. We actually had 20% down to put, but that means if we put that money down, we wouldn't have had enough to fix up the property. So we decided that it made more sense to pay the PMI, to pay, whatever it was, like $150 per month, by not putting down that full 20% and still having that cash so we could do some renovations. And that's exactly what we did. We closed on the house in May. I'll never forget. It was May 4th. We closed on the house. And right away, we had contractors ready to fix the downstairs area, the place that we knew where we wanted to fix up. We fixed up everything, and our mortgage wasn't due until July 1st, that first payment. And by July 1st, we already had renters. So we never actually paid for a mortgage.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What was that experience? Can you talk about the extent of the work that the property needed? And presumably this is your first time doing like a rehab. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So I loved HGTV at the time. So it was a cool, like, real life experience. We actually had like a close friend of ours. He lived really close to us too. He was like just starting into like his handyman construction type of business. So it couldn't have been more perfect timing for us, like us just getting started, him getting started. He was very handy, very knowledgeable. So yeah, so basically we put the money into downstairs. So we put new flooring, recessed lightings. Again, we took out a bedroom to make it a living room space. We put a new bathroom. So we were making this place look super nice. And that was the priority. And actually upstairs, so that was a walkout basement. Upstairs where we were staying, it was still like outdated. And I actually had friends come to me and say like, wow, you're living in this space, downstairs looks nicer. And again, that's part of that delay gratification. We were thinking of the future. Well, the people downstairs, we want to live in a nice space because they're going to be taking care of the majority of our mortgage. Once we get that taken care of, then we'll be working, we'll kind of like rebuild our savings again, right? And then now we don't have to worry about a mortgage. So as we're saving up more money, then we can fix up the upstairs portion of our house. So again, that was actually because we had closed on the property in May, and then July 1st, we had it rented and everything. And then in the summertime, I'm off as a teacher. So I started working upstairs. So I was doing things myself. So I was painting the house, the whole interior myself. I renovated the kitchen. So I was going to like warehouses to check out the new cabinets, warehouses to check out the granite slabs. So I was trying to like, not cut corners, but I was just trying to save as much as I could by not going that general contractor way. And I was learning that process as well.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So you two were living in the basement, or was
No,
it
we were living on the
upstairs?
main floor. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. So one thing you mentioned that I really want to make sure to talk a bit more about is that you were doing a lot of the work yourself. And oftentimes people, for various reasons, they just outsource all the work. And as a result, they don't really know what's going on. They don't know if something's being done correctly. They don't know if something is being done incorrectly. They don't know if they're paying too much for materials or whatever the case may be. What were some of the advantages you would say of getting your hands in there and doing some of the work?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started off by like getting some quotes, like finding out like what the price is for certain things. And then when I realized like, oh, somebody's going to charge me $2,000, I could do that myself. Right. So, especially because our friend was a handyman and he would kind of give me tips how to do this, and I was always paying attention. I'm like, I want to learn how to put down tiles. Not to say that I can really do that, but I'm like watching him and I'm asking him questions while he's doing that. And so I was really able to learn. So every time, a handyman would come in, I would ask questions and I would just really watch them and study and see what they're doing to see if that's something that I could replicate later in the future or if I can do something similar.
Definitely. Love that. Love that. I think it's very valuable to be able to learn some of those things, because in the future, when you do delegate or do different things, like you actually you have a foundation, right? Where you know a baseline level of stuff at the very least, instead of knowing nothing and just blindly
Yeah.
sending
I
the
mean,
money.
even when it comes to painting, right? I think most people can paint. You just have to be patient, right? But it's not like a hard skill to do. But yet, that is one of the most expensive jobs that you will encounter while you're like fixing up a place, right? So that was always like my job. Like, I'll take care of the interior painting, I'll take care of, like trim work and doing all that stuff because maybe if it's in the summer, I have more time, or I'd make the time for it because I knew that it could save me some money.
What's up, y'all? Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Thank you so much for watching another episode. Definitely take a moment to subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Also, visit our website, blackrealestatedialogue.com, and follow on Instagram at Black Real Estate Dialogue. Talk to you soon.